Just taking a quick look at this new Fossibot F3600, and no, this is not a Delta Pro. This is an all-new model from Fossibot. You know that now they had the F2400, which they came out with fairly recently. So now they're stepping it up and making a larger capacity, more capable unit. And so if you're looking at something, if you're looking at getting something like a Delta Pro, you might want to take a look at this thing. Now I'm not the biggest fan of this being like kind of like a direct copy, but it is what it is. We'll talk about the design stuff more at the end. But yeah, let's just kind of jump into the specs here. And this is just going to be kind of like a quick recap. We'll kind of get into the details of all this stuff here more in a second. But yeah, we get a 3300 watt continuous AC inverter, almost 4 kilowatt hours there on the capacity. They do mention 1.8 hours to fully recharge this unit. Now, we'll talk about that because that's actually combining the AC and the solar. But still, the specs are, they're pretty good on that. And we do get this very unique thing that Fossibot has with this, they call it 5 gears, different charging speeds. Because there's no app with this unit, but it's nice to have kind of like a physical switch. And then this is interesting here because they're claiming 10 milliseconds or less on the UPS. And what's really interesting about that is this is the only place in this entire listing that is mentioned. So to me, that doesn't sound like they're too confident about that. So that could be a bit of a question mark. And then we do get that LFP battery and, almost 4 kilowatt hours. So this is, pretty good stuff. Now, 3840 is the actual number. But, pretty good capacity on that for something that is marketed as a portable unit. We'll talk about that more here in a second. And then we do get, the AC inverter, pretty good specs, right? 3300 watt continuous. And they do mention, a full 6600 watt surge on that, which is good to see. Now, this is kind of the biggest downfall to this product is the fact that everywhere in this listing they mention 110 volts. So I still don't understand, like, especially with this product. I was just looking at all the specs. It's like everything's real good on this unit. Why can't we get the proper 120 volts? I don't know. All right, and then for the charging, this is really good stuff actually. So I'm happy to see all these specs. So as I mentioned earlier, you can do it in 1.8 hours if you combine the AC and the solar. Which I don't know how many people are actually doing that, but still. The AC and the solar independently are still pretty good specs here. 1500 watts from the wall, which is a good number to pull from the wall. And actually, one of the big features, standout features with this product is, as I mentioned, it's got that dial. This is like a mechanical dial. I talked about this in that F24 video. I really like to see something like this. In this digital age with the app, and I mean, obviously the apps have their benefits, but sometimes it's just nice to be able to reach out and, just physically manipulate something, right? And it's a nice dial too, like this kind of like brushed stainless steel dial. And so we do get the 5 speeds here, which they actually mentioned that, it's basically better for the battery, right? I mean, it's just going to be hard. It's not going to be as hard on the battery if you're going to be doing a slower charge, like 300 watts, 600 watts. So I really like to see that they actually mention this. So many companies here, they advertise, yeah, you can charge it up from the wall in 1 hour, but you don't always want to be doing that. Even with LFP battery, you don't always want, if you're doing that every day, it's not going to last quite as long as you think, right? So it's always better to kind of do a slower charge unless it's like an emergency situation. And then in that case, you can do that full 1500 watts, right? To charge up as fast as possible. And the orange there, they are showing that's when that supercharge light indicator on the screen comes on. So yeah, kind of it's a cool setup and it's a good idea. And then for the solar, we actually get, down here, we actually can get even more power going into this thing, 2000 watts. And very good voltage on this, so 12 to 160 volts. And it is using an XT90 connector as well, so nice, big beefy connector, and 20 amps. So yeah, those are actually that's excellent solar specs actually. And they do claim this is a humanized design, because yeah, it's got the wheels and the handle, the suitcase style design. And they're saying, that the weight on here, they, in the listing they say it's only like 92 pounds. That's still quite a lot. I mean, if you're rolling it, that's one thing, but it's still going to be difficult to kind of pick this thing up and move it somewhere else if you need to. And, basically they're saying here that it's, lightweight and small, but this is in comparison to this diagram here, or this product there, that's actually the Blue Eddy EP500, which or at least the EP500 Pro at least is, you know, the specs are, it's got a bit more capability than this unit does, than this unit has. So that's kind of a little bit of an unfair comparison, but I guess it is a little bit, well, it's similar to the Delta Pro. I mean, this is, you know, it's almost a copy of the Delta Pro. We're getting to that, and in fact, let's just talk about that now. Let's just get that over with. So yeah, it's a direct copy. I hate to really see this. I'm just really not happy about them doing a direct copy. Now, a lot of companies are kind of taking inspiration from Ecoflow and copying some things, right? Like we've seen the Marzons, we've seen that E-Polar unit, and we've seen other units just kind of even just copying the color scheme. But this is like everything, right? I mean, they just flat out copied this. I mean, look at this. These are, I mean, tell me, are these not, you know, Ecoflow Delta handles? They're the exact handle, and they did the exact color scheme. So this is a big thumbs down from me. You know, and kind of disappointing too, because the F2400, they kind of had their own thing going. I mean, you could say it was, you know, inspired by the Blue Eddy AC200s, yes, but it still, you know, it looked like its own products, right? I mean, so I really wish they would have kind of done something more like that. And in fact, I threw this thing in the Photoshop just to kind of see. This is just, you know, this is just a quick color scheme change, right? They're just having it all black, and then, you know, it could have been something like this, and it would have looked fine, and it wouldn't have seemed like such a, you know, blatant copy. So yeah, kind of actually really disappointed about that. But you know, the thing is, that being said, they did do, you know, they did do a good job as far as all the details go. I do like that screen, and I do like that we get everything on the front, you know, USB. All the DC outputs, including this one here is a 25 amp XT60 output, and then of course we get the cigarette lighter and the little 5521s as well. And then we do get all the AC, and actually, oh, hold on a second here. They're actually listing this at 120 volts there, so that's interesting. You know, everywhere in the listing they said 110, and there it says 120. So if this thing does put out 120 volts, you know, that would be, I would say this is actually all the specs on this unit would be actually pretty much perfect then. And, you know, other than the weight. But so yeah, that's interesting. Hopefully somebody can get some testing on this unit, and if anybody sees any testing on this unit or can confirm what the actual voltage is on this thing, just put it in the comments. But yeah, so we do get, actually there's like 4 20 amp outlets here, and then there is the 30 amp there as well. So now that cover could be a bit of an issue. That could be kind of annoying. Maybe you can rip that off. And then on the back side, we do get this is the little flashlight that's actually removable, magnetic flashlight. Now the one thing to note is that, you know, it doesn't charge by itself when you pop it into the unit. There's actually you actually just have to charge it with the USB cable. And then we get a nice light on the back. I love seeing lights on the back, so that's really good, and that's something that Ecoflow doesn't do, right? It's just kind of nice to have that in an emergency situation, get some light until you can get things plugged in and powered up. So yeah, that's just a quick overview of this Fossibot F3600, and hopefully just kind of found all this information helpful, interesting, whatever. And yeah, thanks for watching.